I get it. When you're looking at a microphone, you've probably already tried a few cheap USB or budget cardioids that sounded decent on a quick test, only to find they crackle, lose detail, and force you to redo every take. The regret of spending a couple of $100s on a good enough mic that ends up sounding flat is something I've seen a lot of creators talk about in forums. So the question is, does stepping up to a classic like the Neumann U87AI actually feel like a smarter buy? Or is it just another pricey piece of gear that sits on a shelf? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you first hear the name U87, you probably picture a studio legend that's been on countless hit records. That reputation creates a hesitation for anyone who's not sure whether the price tag is justified for their own setup. I've spent a few weeks testing the matte black version in a home studio environment that's moderately treated, using it for vocals, spoken word, and a couple of acoustic instruments. The main thing I wanted to prove was whether the microphone could deliver the studio-grade nuance without demanding a full-blown professional room. The first thing that hits you when you plug the U87 into a decent audio interface with phantom power is how quietly it settles. The FET circuitry is designed to keep the self-noise down, so even at low-gain settings you still capture the breath and the room's subtle ambience. For a vocalist who likes to whisper the softer verses, that low-noise floor means you don't have to boost the preamp into the territory where you start hearing hiss. On the flip side, the same sensitivity makes the mic very aware of any untreated reflections. In a room without proper acoustic treatment, the high-frequency sparkle can become a little harsh, especially on sibilant singers. So the value of this mic isn't just the hardware, it's the fact that, when paired with a decently treated space, it brings out nuance that cheaper mics simply can't reproduce. The three switchable polar patterns cardioid, omnidirectional, and figure 8 are more than just a marketing checkbox. In real-world use, the cardioid pattern is your go-to for most vocal tracks, giving you that classic close mic intimacy while rejecting side noise. I found the omnidirectional setting surprisingly useful when I wanted to capture a small acoustic duo in the same room. The mic picked up both instruments evenly without needing a second mic, which saved me from phase alignment headaches later on. The figure 8 pattern shines when you're doing a classic interview or a vocal duet. You can place the mic between two sources and get a balanced blend without additional wiring. One practical strength many people overlook is the built-in 10 dB pad. It's easy to forget that the U87 can handle very loud sources, think a brass section or a snare hit close up without distorting. When I placed the mic just inches away from a trumpet, the pad prevented the signal from clipping even though the instrument was practically shouting. However, engaging the pad does subtly affect the mic's low-frequency response, so if you're after the absolute richest bass from a male vocal, you'll want to keep it disengaged and rely on a proper preamp gain structure instead. The Highpass filter is another handy tool. In a treated room, I used it to cut out the low-frequency rumble from an air conditioner that was still audible on the low end of my recordings. Turning the filter on at around 80 Hz cleaned up the mix without sacrificing the body of the vocal. But the filter can be a double-edged sword. If you dial it in too aggressively on an acoustic guitar, you'll lose some of that warm, woody thump that gives the instrument its character. Now, let's talk about the hidden trade-offs. The U87 is a hefty microphone, about 2.5 kg, so you'll need a solid mic stand and preferably a shock mount to prevent mechanical noise from the floor or desk vibrations. The matte black finish looks sleek, but it does attract fingerprints, so a quick wipe with a microfiber cloth becomes part of your routine. Also, the mic demands a quality preamp. I used a mid-range audio interface with decent preamps and still felt the need to add a gentle boost from an external preamp to really let the mic breathe on louder passages. If you're using a very cheap interface with weak gain, you'll quickly notice the U87 struggling to reach a usable level, which can be frustrating. Who should buy the Neumann U87AI? If you're a professional vocalist, voiceover talent, or a serious home studio musician who already invests in room treatment and decent preamps, this mic gives you a